Sunday, June 28th, 2026, we headed north up Interstate 81 on the way to chase the Reading and Northern's Pittston Fast Freight. Also known as PIFF, the train is an integral part of the railroad's supply chain, running the entirety of the R&N's main line from Pittston to Reading. The train heads south 6 days a week at 7 p.m. sharp, arriving at North Reading Yard a few hours later. Once at Reading, the train grabs inbound cars from Norfolk Southern and returns to Pittston in the early morning. Sometime in the spring of 2025, PIFF was put into service to replace the formerly well-known North Reading Fast Freight, or NRFF, which ran during the day. This was done for a few different reasons, mostly revolving around yard operations and train scheduling. Before catching the Fast Freight, we decided to make good use of our time by following the R&N's weekend JTPI excursion train on its way back north to Pittston from Jim Thorpe. We start our chase at Tannery, where the old Lehigh Valley Hayes Creek Junction once stood, which before being dismantled and put out of service in the 1960s, had a branch line that crossed over to the west side of the Lehigh River. All that remains today are the old bridge piers and this signal mast, which I can only assume at one point guided movements over the junction. A string of hoppers and gondolas are on the siding today, most likely being used to carry ties, plates, and spikes for track maintenance. Just before 5 p.m., JTPI rounds the corner, being led by GP38-2 number 2023, wearing a paint scheme honoring the railroad's 40th anniversary. At Penobscot, we were surprised to see R&N 462 number 425's water tender sitting in the yard. My guess is it was being used to refill 484 number 2102's tender on a steam excursion to Tunkhannock just the day before. After their passenger stop, we jump ahead to Oak Street to catch JTPI one final time. With PIJT in the clear, we move up the hill overlooking the curve to the north, where we wait for the star attraction of the video to get underway. Despite departing Pittston on time, signaling issues caused PIFF to take a brief pause at DuPont, putting the train about 15 minutes behind schedule. 20 minutes after 7, PIFF is back on the move, and it isn't long after that the sound of notched-up EMDs can be heard climbing the hill out of Pittston. Four different paint schemes with four different locomotive types are on today's fast freight. SD50 number 5017 is on the point of today's train, followed by SD40-2 number 1983, another unit painted to honor the RNN's 40th anniversary. Behind 1983 are SD50-2 number 5021, painted in the railroad's fast freight paint scheme, and GP30 number 2530. 2530 is being towed to North Reading, where it will be removed from the consist and left in the yard, presumably for switching customers on the south end of the railroad. The chase is on, as shortly after the curve, PIFF begins picking up speed. We get ahead of the train at the location of Glen Summit. Just south of us is the control point of Crestwood, where the 4-mile-long siding beginning at Solomon's Gap returns to single track and continues as such until the siding at Tannery. We are just 2 miles south of the top of the grade at Penobscot, meaning the train is now descending the mountain on its way into the Lehigh Gorge. We race ahead to the automatic block signal at milepost 146, where PIFF emerges from the Whitehaven Tunnel just ahead of us. From here, the train continues its descent into Whitehaven, where it crosses to the east side of the Lehigh River. From there, it follows the river for approximately 20 miles into the Lehigh Gorge, crossing back to the west side once again at Jim Thorpe on its way into Nesquehoning. We planned on catching the train crossing the Lehigh River at Jim Thorpe Junction. However, due to PIFF's delay at DuPont and the time quickly approaching 2100, we relocated to Nesquehoning for better lighting. From here, we continue into the town of Tamaqua to catch PIFF passing through the North Tamaqua rail yard. Although unlikely, I had secretly hoped SD40-2 number 1776 would have been leading today's fast freight, with America's 250th birthday just around the corner. Nevertheless, we were lucky enough to catch this shot of them passing the patriotic locomotive in Tamaqua. Our final shot before the train reaches North Reading Yard is at the RNN's very own headquarters in Port Clinton. Despite being a fairly busy location and plenty of vehicles being parked on the property, the scene was eerily quiet with not a single person on site, a feeling that was quickly diminished as the fast freight passes the Port Clinton train station. Quarter after 11, PIFF arrives in North Reading Yard. PIFF isn't the only train working the night shift. The West Hazelton Fast Freight, WHFF, is also here, as well as another train which we believed was NRQA, the North Reading to Tamaqua job. After switching some cars around the yard, WHFF is the first to head back north. The consist is mostly coal hoppers today, complete with a caboose on the rear for their shove move into West Hazelton. WHFF out of the way, it's now NRQA's turn to head back north on its return to Tamaqua. With the yard mostly empty at this point, PIFF heads back into the yard to retrieve its inbound train, now with 3 extra locomotives added to the lineup. PIFF departs North Reading at roughly 12:30 a.m. From here, it will continue north back to Pittston, completing the cycle. Unfortunately, that's all the time we could afford for today's chase. But as always, we hope you enjoyed, and thank you for watching.